Really? Wow. That's more than I thought.
The guest brought a commemorative Confederate medal and case that her husband inherited from his great-aunt to the show. The case is a replica thermoplastic and electrotype war artifact made by a craftsman from New York named Samuel Black in the year 1872. The case was initially made and sold to raise funds for the Confederate widows and orphans during the Civil War era, around 1872. The case has three main parts. On the front is the image of the Washington Monument in Richmond, Virginia, coated with silver. Next on the inside of the case is the Great Seal of the Confederacy, which bears the image of a man named George Washington. Lastly, around the edge is the inscription, Confederate States of America. The appraiser values the piece at around $2,500. The guest brought a page with autographs from the All-American baseball team. It belonged to the guest's mother-in-law, who had attended an exhibition game in Seattle at the age of 10. Later, the page was passed down through the family, eventually reaching the guest's husband. The game had taken place around October 18th before the players embarked on a month-long barnstorming tour in Japan.
So they had this team of 36 players. 15 players went to Japan.
The appraiser highlighted the significance of the tour.
The whole purpose of that tour was the players looked at it as tourism. The baseball and the U.S. government looked at it as an ambassador tour.
The autograph page showcased signatures from 12 players, including baseball legends Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. However, it was noted that the page missed signatures from 4 players who were part of the Japan tour. Despite this, the item was still a valuable example of the tour's squad. The appraiser estimated the item's auction value to be.
At auction, I'd put a value of $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow, that's great for a little piece of paper with signatures.
They say a happy wife makes a happy life, and it came true for this man who bought sculptures worth $13,000 for his wife from a thrift store. He paid $20 for each sculpture, totaling $40. It turned out the sculptures were signed by the artist Bessie Potter Vano. Well, Bessie Potter Vano was a prominent American sculptor, known for domestic scenes featuring women and children. These sculptures were made around 1910 and were finely detailed, capturing the tender relationship between mother and child.
And it's very unusual to have sculptors whose subject matter is women and children.
Vano's popularity had led to the creation of many fakes, but the guest's sculptures were confirmed to be original.
And what people have done over the years is they'll make a mold of the original and they'll make another casting. And that's called a surmoulage. They weren't done during the artist's lifetime. They weren't done under her authorization. They were done much later.
The appraiser revealed that one of the sculptures recently sold at auction for $4,500, with an estimated value of $4,000 to $6,000. The second sculpture, considered more rare, was estimated to be worth between $5,000 and $7,000 at auction. The guest was pleasantly surprised by the significant value of the sculptures, especially considering their initial purchase price.
Wow.
This guest brought these light fixtures. They were feature shades from her house, which she bought about 44 years ago, and since then, she's been using the original light fixtures in her living room. The house is believed to have been built before 1890.
Best as I can tell, the house must have originally used gas. At some point, you must have converted over to electricity.
And these light fixtures are made by Quoizel, a company founded by former Tiffany Studios employees in 1901. The name Quoizel comes from the word Quetzal, meaning brilliantly colored bird. Shades are custom designed and not mass-produced, indicating they were luxury items. Each shade could be valued between $400 and $600, totaling the value to $6,000 to $8,000 for all the sconces. The sconces feature hand-carved work that matches the doorknob in the hall, adding to their uniqueness and value. The guest expresses their enjoyment of the fixtures, indicating their appreciation for the history. This guest brought a J.W. Fisk & Company aquarium to the show. It's really an outstanding example of a fish tank well crafted with precision. This aquatic wonder symbolized a fascination with the natural world and the desire to bring its beauty into everyday life. Beyond its ornamental allure, it served a practical purpose as a home for exotic fish and aquatic plants, providing both entertainment and education for admirers of the natural world. Its elaborate design featured intricate metalwork and glass panels, creating a captivating display of underwater life. The unique features distinguish the J.W. Fisk & Company aquarium as a pinnacle of craftsmanship. The appraiser values it.
In this condition, I would estimate it to bring around $8,000 to $12,000 at an auction.
I'll tell you.
This guest brought a vase that's a Lotz piece, which has been in her husband's family for years, with uncertain origins but reputed to be Tiffany. The appraiser identifies the vase as a Lotz piece, known for its iridescent glass.
And by the end of the 19th century into the beginning of the 20th century, it was perceived as the premier bohemian art glass maker.
While the iridescence is reminiscent of Tiffany glass, the glass and silverwork indicate it's likely a Lotz piece, with the silver being sterling silver. This glass is unmarked, but typical of Lotz form and coloration, with the silverwork described as outstanding, particularly the floral work and large drops. The appraiser estimates the vase's value at an auction to be conservatively between $3,000 to $5,000.
I had no idea.
The guest presents a photograph related to the civil rights movement. The guest's father, who was the city editor at the Boston Herald, assigned Stanley Foreman to capture the photograph during a segregation protest in Boston. Stanley Foreman won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, and the guest's father assigned him for both winning photos. The photo, titled "Soiling Old Glory," was taken by Stanley Foreman in April 1976.
This photo is one of the iconic photographs of America, of the civil rights movement.
It depicts a scene of racial tension in Boston City Hall Plaza during a protest against busing for school integration. The photo captures a protester wielding an American flag and lunging towards civil rights lawyer Ted Landsmark. Landsmark's nose was broken in the altercation. The photo became a nationwide sensation, raising awareness about the civil rights movement and the issue of school segregation. The appraiser estimates the signed photo's retail value to be,
but I would say conservatively on a retail basis, $2,000 to $3,000.
Really?
I mean, it's such an iconic photo. It's fabulous.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
A guest brought this etching to the show, inherited from her mother. In 1965, a peculiar invention emerged from the mind of Bassan Rembrandt, a visionary in the world of etching. This creation, known as the Rembrandt etching, was a marvel in its own right. The Rembrandt etching was more than just a tool. It was a symbol of artistic liberation, enabling artists to capture intricate details with unprecedented precision. Its unique features allowed for nuanced expression, immortalizing the essence of Rembrandt's mastery in each stroke. But sadly, Rembrandt actually sold many of his plates before he died in order to pay his debt. The appraiser values it at,
somewhat later, 125 years or so later, would bring between $4,000 to $6,000 at auction.
Well, that's still pretty impressive at that.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
The guest's family heirloom was a dressing table that had been in their family for several generations. The guest acquired it from their aunt in the 90s. The dressing table was identified as black walnut, likely made in the 1750s in Philadelphia. It had a beautiful old surface and coloring. The top and the drawer fronts had curly figures in the grain. The piece had original brasses and a distinctive skirt pattern, possibly influenced by Irish cabinet making. The knee carving and stocking feet suggested an early Philadelphia style. Another interesting detail included the large overhang on the top and in the back.
Even in the back, that was so it could go flush to a wall over a chair rail, so it would be stable.
Considering its pristine condition and rarity, the appraiser estimated its worth to be around,
I think at a major antique show, it would be priced retail probably at $70,000 or $80,000. So,
come on.
A beautiful lamp was presented by the guest, who bought it as a gift for his wife 32 years ago. It was purchased from a store in Pasadena for $20. The appraiser identified it as a rare lamp by Elizabeth Burton, dating back to around 1910 during the arts and crafts movement. Unlike typical arts and crafts pieces, Burton's work had more of an Oriental influence. The lamp had intricate lotus leaf designs and a shell shade. Usually, Burton's pieces were marked with a monogram, but the particular piece's mark had been covered with lead for stability purposes. Despite this, the lamp remained highly desirable in the market. The estimated value of the item was determined to be between.
The piece is very, very desirable. At auction, this piece would bring between $5,000 and $7,000.
That's amazing. That's really wonderful.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
Yeah,
I really appreciate your knowledge on it.
This chair was carved by the guest's husband's great-grandfather, whose name was Fred Ega. He was known for his large pieces, mainly created for famous and wealthy individuals.
He did make some incredible furniture for some very famous and very wealthy people in the late 19th century.
The chair features a Moravian form with a plank seat and back, a simple design with a scrolled Baroque-inspired base, reminiscent of Dutch and German furniture with acanthus leaves. This chair is made of oak, and it's known for its density. The chair would have required incredible effort to carve.
We look at the top, you can almost cut your fingers against. It's just unbelievable.
Especially evident in the crispness of the leafage and the detailed carving. The chair was exhibited at the Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893. The appraiser notes the chair's original finish and rarity, estimating its value at auction between $2,000 to $4,000.
Auction has...
Really? That's wonderful.
Found at the bottom of a jewelry box and brought in by the guest, this figure is a trembler, or in French, an en tremblant. They were very popular in the 1700s, making en tremblant pins that were flowers worth thousands of dollars. This one, however, is from the late 30s and 1940s, made of pot metal and rhinestones, with two precious little Scotty dolls and stylish lady. At auction, this piece is worth.
She's worth about $300 to $400.
Oh my. The guest brought in a pair of vases believed to be from a valuable Dr. Wall period of Worcester porcelain. However, they are a well-made pair of French porcelain vases likely crafted in the 1850s or 1860s. While the guest's grandmother's note mentioned characteristics of Dr. Wall period Worcester pieces, the vases didn't match those specifications.
Scale blue. It has this deep cobalt blue color that you can see in the background with a kind of scale pattern on it, like a fish scale.
That's what I
Very
wondered.
subtly.
The style of it and the hard paste porcelain are more pointers to the fact that it's not an original Worcester piece. Despite not being the original target item, the vases are still valuable due to their quality and are estimated to be worth.
They'd be priced at least $1,200 and maybe $1,500 for the pair.
Okay.
This 1938 Gibson A-style guitar was brought to the show by this guest, who got it from her great-uncle as a gift. With a rounded bottom and extra deep sides, the guitar brings out a very big sound compared to any other guitar you would come across. Gibson Nick Lucas was an Italian-American guitarist who gained prominence with his hit renditions of Pickin' the Guitar and Teasin' the Frets for Pathé. Despite having conditional issues due to its broken neck, the appraiser still valued the guitar at around $5,000 to $6,000.
That's great.
Disneyland, when the guest was just 5 years old, he acquired Walt Disney's autograph by following his grandfather's whimsical instructions. The guest didn't know Walt Disney at the time, but since then he has cherished this autograph and even framed it with a collector's plate. A photograph showcasing the guest and his sister on that unforgettable day elevates the autograph's value. Many Walt Disney signatures were frequently forged by his secretaries or are fake. However, this one, with a personal story attached, is truly unique. While the autograph holds priceless sentimental value for the guest, at auction,
the wonderful signature is going to be between $1,500 and $2,500.
Wow, that's really super.
This guest brought a circa 1860 Scottish agate bracelet, which was passed down to her from her husband's family. The bracelet was made in Scotland and became popular in the 1900s because Queen Victoria was in love with the agate bracelet. The bracelet features traditional colored agate natural stones, which can only be found in Scotland, known as Scottish pebble jewelry. The appraiser valued this piece at around $2,500.
That's wonderful.
The banjo was brought to the show by this guest. It belonged to the guest's grandfather. The serial numbers depicted it was manufactured between 1927 and 1928. The banjo was a 1928 Vega White Lady model. The White Lady banjo is an iconic instrument in the history of banjo making, renowned for its unique tone and craftsmanship. The instrument was in excellent condition despite its age. The value estimated by the appraiser was,
this banjo would sell between $3,000 and $3,500. Wow.
The guest recounted the interesting story of acquiring swords. They were crafted by her grandfather, a fisherman from Gloucester, Massachusetts. During fishing, her grandfather would catch swordfish and meticulously carve them into swords using a small penknife. There was a particular theme for the swords he carved.
Theme being faith, hope, and love.
Moreover, there was also a depiction of a swordfish, out of respect for the fish from which the bone was sourced. In 1908, the guest's grandfather was lost at sea for 3 months and miraculously survived.
So he showed up at his wife's doorstep, presumably after she thought he had died?
Right, and after the memorial service had been held.
The appraiser acknowledged the great artist with exceptional art pieces. Considering the extraordinary quality, design, and color, the value of all pieces together ranged between $5,000 and $6,000.
Wonderful man. Thank you.
All right.
This guest received a Cartier Art Deco-style Minaudière from their mother-in-law.
It's Cartier. I opened it up and looked inside, and I saw the Cartier marks.
Carved gemstones, including emeralds, rubies, and rose-cut diamonds, adorn the piece. The design, known as Tutti Frutti, was inspired by Indian styles. Cartier's clientele included Indian Maharajas and their courts. The piece, nearly 100 years old, bears visible marks of French hallmarks and is in excellent condition with its original box. Many people are drawn to acquiring such exquisite treasures, much like this splendid piece, and are willing to invest any amount.
But nothing quite like this. We thought $20,000 to $30,000 at auction would be a good estimate for it. Really want to have something like that.
Well, I like it too.
Sometime in 1990, a lovely wife bought her husband what she thought was just a nice watch for his birthday. About 50 years later, her son, who inherited the watch in 1990, brought it to an appraiser. Hamilton, the largest watchmaker in the world, made this watch in 1957. It was the flagship electric watch called the Pacer. Our guest's mother had bought her husband a watch that was the first of its kind. It was the first time that an electromagnet would power a watch. This particular model was gold-filled, and the appraiser valued it between $600 and $700. The guest brought in furniture accompanied by a photograph. It was a French cartonnier bureau desk and belonged to 20th Century Fox. It was bought by the guest from an antique gallery for $4,500. The piece had ormolu bronze gilded mounts in an empire style likely dating to around 1920. The appraiser explained the cartonnier part on the top of a desk. The design features classical influences such as caryatids and griffin supports. The documentation from 20th Century Fox confirmed its use in 2 movies.
It was in this 1954 movie, Desiree, with Gene Simmons and Marlon Brando. And then we also know that it was in the movie What a Way to Go.
The guest also brought a picture of Brando standing next to the desk. Due to its association with iconic films and artists, the appraiser estimated the worth of the wonderful piece to be,
I think that we could probably bump a premium up of about $20,000.
Okay.
This guest brought her grandmother's jewelry collection to the show. The jewelry set is believed to have been made around 1925, during the Art Deco period, possibly by the Art Deco Jewelry Company. The Art Deco period is generally considered to have begun around 1920 and extended until the mid-20th century, with its peak influence lasting until the 1930s. The jewelry set comprises a necklace featuring an old European-cut diamond with a knife-edge drop pendant, an earring set consisting of approximately 1-carat diamonds each, and a brooch featuring a stunning 3-carat step-cut emerald diamond. Additionally, there are 2 platinum diamond rings, each showcasing a European-cut diamond weighing around 3 carats. The appraiser values the set at approximately $30,000.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's extraordinary. I didn't expected that.
The pink bowl and pitcher have been in the owner's family for generations.
So it was my parents' most treasured.
The exquisite ewer and basin, crafted for washing, showcase stunning pink color and thick gilding. Detailed decorations include bird, rococo designs, and insects like butterflies and beetles. High-quality gilding stands out, suggesting skilled craftsmanship. Gold anchor mark is likely the mark of the gilder. Age of the porcelain is estimated based on tiny flaws and bubbles, indicating it was made around 1800. It's French, potentially from Sèvres, but not decorated at the factory. During the French Revolution, numerous plain porcelain pieces were sold and subsequently adorned. Despite uncertainty regarding the decorator, the set's age and quality contribute to its value.
And our best guess is that this set would sell for at least between $4,000 and $6,000.
Thank you so much.
A remarkable collection was presented by the guest. It belonged to his grandfather, Henry Louis Scott, who was a track runner in the early 20th century. Later, he was selected for the 1913 Olympics, and his American team won a gold medal in a 3,000-meter team race. Then the guest explained the format of the 3,000-meter team race, in which countries ran heats.
The countries that won the most heats got to put 5 runners in a final race, and the top 3 runners for each country were calculated to determine which country won.
Although Lewis didn't finish in the top 3 in the final race, he still received a gold medal as a part of the winning team. The guest doesn't know about the whereabouts of the medal, but had certificates of merit. The appraiser identified the certificates being made by a Swedish painter named Olli Hortzberg. The other things included the patch, which was worn by Lewis. Considering the condition issues, the worth for the entire collection was estimated to be,
I'd probably insure the group somewhere in the vicinity of about $15,000 for insurance, for retail replacement value. Of course, for you, it's irreplaceable.
I'm very surprised. I really am. I had no idea.
The guest brought a high-value Patek Philippe watch to the auction. Patek Philippe was renowned as the preeminent Swiss watchmaker. The model 2551 originated in 1954, with this particular one dating around 1960.
This watch is a model 2551.
Notably, it was an automatic watch,
which means that if you wear it every day, it will continue to work.
Featuring a screw-down back, it was innovative for its time, enhancing water resistance. The rotor, made of 18-karat gold, was fully guilloched, boasting 30 jewels and the Geneva seal stamp. Valued at $18,000 to $20,000 in a retail setting, it held sentimental significance beyond its monetary worth.
No, I really don't.
Okay, it probably today in a retail setting has a value of $18,000 to $20,000.
Great, that's wonderful. It's a sentimental piece.
This special painting is a collaboration between the guest's father, Charles Chu, and the renowned artist Chong Dai-Chin. Charles, a professor at Yale, befriended Chong Dai-Chin during his lectures at the university. The painting, created during a memorable evening together, served as a way for Charles, who couldn't return to China, to connect with his homeland. The inscription by Chong Dai-Chin complemented the artistic fusion and the camaraderie shared during the painting's creation, treating Charles as an equal.
Dr. Chen reveled in this. He had a beard, a big, long white beard, and wore robes, and purposely wanted to bring about that kind of association with the literati.
Some of the characters are hard to read, but you can glean from it the meaning, which essentially is,
there is this wonderful fusion, he calls it physics, between the brushwork, the subject matter, and the way that all the thought that went to it is all brought together.
While Charles wasn't a commercially established artist, this painting at auction would fetch.
And I would say that somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 would be a reasonable estimate.
Patriotism may indeed be priceless, but flags do hold monetary value. This particular flag boasted an incredibly high worth. It belonged to the guest's grandfather and dates back to the pre-Civil War era.
Well, it's a flag that belonged to my grandfather. It was given to him by his mother, who made the flag.
With its 31 stars, it stands as a rare piece of history. This rarity was attributed to California's status as the 31st state to join the Union in 1850. What made it even more exceptional was the inclusion of silhouettes depicting its creators, a feature seldom seen. Upon appraisal, the expert suggested a price range between $15,000 to $20,000. This revelation left the guest in complete shock, far exceeding her initial expectations. This original duck is from the popular game show of the 1950s, You Bet Your Life. The duck's job was to descend with prize information when the secret word was said. The guest bought it for $250 in a memorabilia store. You Bet Your Life was aired on both radio and television. It was the backup duck and used at one of Groucho's birthday parties, but it's uncertain if it appeared in aired episodes or not. This is a custom-made prop, likely one of two, made of papier-mâché and fragile. It's in good condition, with just minor wear. Primary duck's record is not found, and it's the only one of its kind.
A piece such as this, we would expect at auction to sell for somewhere between $8,000 to $12,000.
The guest inherited a collection of Overbeck sisters' ceramics, commissioned by her aunt, who admired their work. One piece depicted Wade Curry, a beloved runaway slave and Underground Railroad messenger, a unique commission honoring his memory. He was the first slave to be buried from a white church. Some of the sisters were very well trained, with some excelling in detailed pieces and others in whimsical, grotesque features.
We've got a praying mantis, we have a southern belle, a colonial gentleman, and we have this very interesting bowl with the flower frog that goes inside the bowl that sort of fall into the grotesque category.
The values vary depending on detail, rarity, and condition. However, the entire collection is estimated to bring between.
They would bring roughly somewhere between $6,000 and $7,500.
That's a lot of money.
Guest inherited this powder horn from her grandfather. Being a sheep farmer, he traded his sheep for this horn. In the 1800s, powder horns were used as containers to store gunpowder. It was mostly a functional tool, but this particular horn seems to have been more aesthetic than functional. Unlike other powder horns, this one has a lot of intentional designs on it, which includes a huge clock dial, the American eagle with stars, and a gentleman wearing a top hat. This piece was most likely made on commission by Samuel Dunwoody in June 1849 in Mercer County, Ohio, as is written on the horn. The horn was mostly unused, so the finishing is still quite fresh. The appraiser dubbed it the most beautiful powder horn he had seen and valued it between $10,000 and $15,000.
It's so beautiful. It's the best one I've seen on the show. There's no doubt about it.
Wow, thank you.
In the late 50s, our guest used to sing with her dad in a band that opened for stars at the Grand Ole Opry. The Grand Ole Opry is a venue in Nashville that is home to the biggest country stars in America. Her audacious mother took this unique opportunity of being backstage to get stars to sign her table, which she then embroidered over. The tablecloth has signatures of big stars like Loretta Lynn, Ray Price, and a special signature from the 37th President of America, Richard Nixon. The tablecloth is filled with so much history, and the appraiser suggested it should be insured for $600 to $800.
Oh my goodness! I never thought that much. Not in 100 years.
Guest's mother adored the Turtle Baby sculpture at the Cleveland Museum.
And when she married my father, they moved to Houston, and she had pictures throughout the house of the Turtle Baby when I was growing up.
For their 25th wedding anniversary, the guest's father surprised her by commissioning a bronze cast of this sculpture from Edith Parsons. Edith Parsons was an American sculptor born in the 1870s. There was a boom in housing, and people wanted these outdoor sculptures, which led to the creation of the Turtle Baby. She also made sculptures like the Duck Baby and the Frog Baby. The sculpture depicted a joyous girl holding turtles by their feet with a base supported by turtles and water features. While originally an outdoor fountain sculpture, currently it is kept indoors due to inheritance. The outdoor exposure did affect its value. Despite that, it's estimated the retail value is between
$35,000 and $40,000 for it.
You're kidding.
No, not at all.
I knew I loved her.
The guest brought beautiful black and white lithographs to the auction. Her father was a member of Associated American Artists. He acquired these prints back in the 1940s and gave it to her mother.
And she has, I'd say, about 100 stored underneath her bed.
Goodness.
And these are just some of the ones that I had picked out that I had liked, and I thought I'd bring them in.
Associated American Artists was active during the 1930s.
And for $5 membership, you would get a print.
Wow.
Now, those prints have accrued tremendously in value.
Each print would arrive on a small mat with an artist's signature and details. The prints were always black and white lithographs. The appraiser suggested that the single print from Thomas Hart Benton could fetch $1,000 to $2,000 at auction.
Wow.
It's in lovely condition.
That's
Surprise.
great.
Huh?
Yeah.
Surprise.
This fascinating pair of plaques caught the eye of our guest and her daughter at an auction. The plaques were thought to have been designed and sculpted by E.W. Wyon in 1848. E.W. Wyon, part of the renowned Wyon dynasty, was active from 1811 to 1885 and later worked for Wedgwood.
It is sculpted by E.W. Wyon also, and we did some research on E.W. Wyon.
And what did you come up with?
Well, we found that he was of the Wyon dynasty.
However, these plaques are modern reproductions crafted from pressed stone composition with some carved details. If these plaques were original 19th century pieces, their value would be in the thousands. The frames and backs are intentionally aged to mimic 19th century pieces.
It cost us $200, and it's a smaller frame, but we wanted it to go along with the other one.
If, in fact, these were by Wyon and they were 19th century sculptures or plaques.
Although these pieces are not original, they are still wonderful decorative items that evoke a historical charm. Despite being reproductions, the prices paid to acquire these items by the guest were fair, and they are worth...
So basically, what you paid at $85 for this is a fairly good market rate for it. $200 for that, maybe a little strong, but not a great deal over the price that you should have been paying.
This exquisite beaded purse was purchased by our guest about 10 years ago. The purse, dating from around 1915 to 1925, stands out not only for its size, but also for its impeccable condition. Featuring a floral pattern composed of several colors of glass beads, the purse boasts approximately 150 beads per square inch.
And what is amazing about it, beyond the size, is this condition. It's a floral pattern, and we've got several colors of glass beads.
The handles are also embroidered with beads on both sides, adding to its charm and value. It is believed to be made in France due to its exquisite design and the absence of the white bead typically found in American-made purses from that time. The cotton sateen lining, in excellent condition, displays a beautiful Art Deco pattern from the 20s to 30s. Though the hardware is stamped steel rather than sterling, it features a sliding locking mechanism.
They would put in a single quadrant of the purse a white bead, and there is no white bead on this purse, so it's not a signature American piece.
Given its exceptional quality, this purse would be valued at,
I would say on today's market, a purse of this exceptional quality would bring around $2,000.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Guest received this beautiful ceramic piece as a gift from an elderly friend who had bought it at an antique shop in Connecticut when she was younger. During the appraisal, the appraiser examined the piece, noting its beautiful detail. The Roman numeral XIII indicated the date, 1913, and the shape number was marked as 1869B. A small circular mark was identified as the signature of the artist, Carl Schmidt, who was recognized as one of the most popular artists working for Rookwood Pottery. The appraiser explained that the mark incise V signified the artist's cue to the glaze department for a vellum glaze on the piece. Another mark, a backward R with flames around it, was identified as the symbol for Rookwood Pottery from Cincinnati, Ohio. The piece was described as a vellum glaze scenic, one of the largest and finest examples from that period the appraiser had seen. A final mark on the bottom, which was difficult to read, was deciphered as Calgary. This was unusual for Rookwood Pottery, but the appraiser noted that the depicted scene could represent the Rocky Mountains in Calgary, featuring birch and pine trees. Emphasizing its magnificence and the exceptional artistry of Carl Schmidt, the appraiser valued the piece at auction between,
I think at auction we're probably looking at between $15,000 and $20,000.
Oh, wow.
This item is a fantastic piece of baseball history. It is called a presentation piece, and it was given to clubs that had won the World Series. The presentation piece is a photo that shows all of the players on the team. This piece was presented to the Chicago Cubs circa 1908.
And this was given out to celebrate the fact that the Cubs had won the World Series in 1907 and 1908. The first team ever to do that. Of course, the World Series started in 1903.
It shows many important figures in the team at that time, including Mordecai Brown. Mordecai has a fascinating story behind his rise in baseball.
And his hand got caught in the corn shredder, and it actually took off his finger right down to the nub here on the second knuckle. Later, he fell and broke two other fingers.
It also shows the Cubs' defense, which were considered to be one of the strongest at the time. If this presentation piece were to be offered at an auction, it would retail at the price of...
This is valued at about $5,000.
Oh my, that's shocking. It's amazing.
We have here a small bronze sculpted boar, conveying a sense of movement and vitality. The guest stumbled upon this item in a dirt playground as a child.
I think I was about 4 years old. I was in the garden digging with a spade. I think I was the kind of kid to quite often pick things up.
This finely crafted boar displays the artistry patterns of the Romans from the 1st and 2nd century AD. The boar's head features small, alert eyes and detailed snout with flaring nostrils and slightly protruding tusks.
The eyes, the tusks, it is almost too good to be true. A lot of people think that these are always religious or sacrificial objects,
showing the boar's formidable presence. In Roman culture, the boar symbolizes bravery and ferocity, and sometimes religious rituals. When we look closely, we see green patinas on the item, which help in examining historical antiques.
This is going from a gut instinct. There's work to do here, and it needs to go off to a museum and be properly checked out.
Overall, this bronze boar is not only an artistic marvel, but also a cultural artifact that shows the skill and symbolism in Roman art. At an auction, it would fetch,
I think, at auction in the region of £10,000.
Wow.
This uniform belonged to the Guest, who was a bat boy for the Cleveland Indians in 1948. The Guest family moved to Cleveland and he participated in a contest, thereby landing the role of bat boy. 1948 was a significant year for the Cleveland Indians as they won their last World Series.
Here they won their second of 2 World Series, their last World Series championship.
This wool uniform was worn by the Guest during the regular season and the World Series. The 1948 season also bore witness to a legendary player in action. Satchel Paige was an American professional baseball pitcher whose career spanned 5 decades in Negro League Baseball and Major League Baseball, MLB. This Bat Boy jersey is unique and in excellent condition. Considering the rarity of game-worn Bat Boy jerseys, its auction value is set at...
Given that, I think a value at auction, I think $2,000 to $3,000.
All right.
This piece is a study of the painting Safe by Jared French, which was discovered in the Guest father-in-law's apartment.
When he passed away, my wife, cleaning out the apartment, found it, so we brought it home and reframed it. It's been hanging in our house for the last 10 years.
Jared French, an American artist born in 1905 in Ossining, New York, is known for his work in magic realism, blending magical elements with realistic landscapes. This drawing is signed in the lower right and diverges from his usual style and medium. French studied at Amherst College and the Art Students League, and briefly worked on Wall Street.
He left Wall Street after the crash in 1929, and he worked briefly for the WPA, and he ended up doing murals for various post offices and other projects.
His typical medium was egg tempera, but this study utilizes wash and possibly gouache or tempera for highlights. This piece is linked to a painting of the same name in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and the preserved label on the back confirms this connection. At auction, this piece would sell for...
I think if you were to sell this retail, it might bring as much as $20,000.
Wow. I'm going to go to the Cooperstown now and look at the painting.
Yeah.
When you refer to the number of artists that greatly contributed to the fabric of knowledge of the West through their paintings, J.K. Ralston would be a notable mention. This 1953 painting by Ralston features the Guest's grandfather on horseback.
So he's recalling some of his youth. It's a Western painting, and it's a painting that has a lot of associations here in Billings.
The painting showcases Ralston's connection to the land and his background in cattle ranching before he became a painter.
Ralston's family were ranchers. So his first love, his first vocation was cattle ranching.
Right.
Before he became a painter.
Right.
It is framed in a simple Western style, complementing its subject matter. While Ralston may not be as renowned as some of his counterparts, his work is still highly competent, and at auction, this piece would fetch...
I would think if you're an insurance, I'd probably insure it for about $15,000 these days.
$15,000.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Guest got this cracked baseball bat directly from Mickey Mantle after a match with Baltimore in 1963. At the end of the handle is inscribed T108, which is the sign on the 6 baseball bats Mickey ordered from Louisville Slugger. To protect it from breaking, the Guest did a beautiful tape job on the bat. In 1963, the New York Yankees were American baseball champions, even though they lost the World Series to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Due to the crack, the value has been affected, but it can be insured for $15,000. At an auction, the realistic estimate for this item would be...
I think that if it was to go to auction, I think an auction estimate would be about $10,000 to $15,000.
Oh my God.
Well,
isn't that wonderful?
Absolutely.
Holy cow, I never would have expected that.
The Guest brought a unique item that had been handed down from her father. It was discovered by the Guest's father while digging a hole for a bush. The appraiser identified the object as a wafer iron, which was quite uncommon. These irons often featured dates, initials, or names on their surfaces, typically from the mid-18th century. This particular wafer iron bore the Great Seal of the United States and was dated 1812. During that time, it was popular to display patriotism by incorporating the American seal on items. The appraiser explained that its functionality was similar to waffle irons. They discussed the item's origin, though it was unclear why this particular iron was created. Considering the intriguing story, the suggested value for the item was...
Well, these sell on the market between $1,500 and $2,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Guests brought a figure that was acquired from a family friend. It was believed to be from the Klamath region, where the friend's grandfather worked. The appraiser clarified that the item was actually from the Queen Charlotte Islands in British Columbia. The beautiful piece was carved by the Haida, an indigenous group known for their intricate artwork and carvings. The particular figure was made from a black slate-light rock called argillite. The appraiser acknowledged the rare piece for its distinctive style and craftsmanship. The object had some condition issues due to falling from a fireplace mantel. Despite this, the suggested value for the item was...
Present condition, this is $5,000 to $10,000.
Aye, okay.
If it were mint, this is a $50,000 piece.
Oh, and it fell off the fireplace mantle.
A fascinating book was displayed by the guest, salvaged from a pile of rubbish in Cardiff docks.
You know, at first sight, this appears to be a really nondescript old ledger, doesn't it?
At first glance, the book appeared to be an ordinary old ledger titled Police Passes, Photo, Name, Age. However, it contained an incredible collection of First World War mugshots. The appraiser noted that it was a police record of people who passed through Cardiff docks. The book was considered a historical treasure, documenting people escaping war and persecution. Some of the individuals in the book were suspected of being spies, as denoted by symbols and letters. The book was found to contain records of over 2,500 people. It was suggested that the volume be digitized and researched further. The appraiser concluded that the book's true value lay in uncovering its history.
Some of these people apparently denoted as spies. There's lots of kind of personal information.
Rather than assigning it a monetary value.
I'm not going to put a value on this. This is not something you can value.
Usually, when vases are mentioned, people's thoughts turn to pottery and ceramics. However, today's piece is quite unique for being neither, but instead being a unique wooden vase. Made by a California artist named Doug Ayers, this piece of work is truly revealing. This bud vase is designed to highlight the boldness of a single stem. This unique work of art in today's market would be worth...
I know nothing about this guy.
He actually was a California artist working in Mendocino, California.
A guest brought in a family portrait from his mother's side, originally from Rhode Island. Known as the scary portrait, it used to frighten them as kids. Now he loves it and displays it in the dining room where it often sparks conversation. Unfortunately, his late mother couldn't identify the people in it. The appraiser praised the portrait's fine craftsmanship and beautifully painted children. It depicted an upper-class family with an older sister using crutches and touching her younger brother. The painting was estimated to be from the 1870s or 1880s. The appraiser praised the portrait as a great folk piece, noting the unusual crutches and skilled painting. Despite its large size, the captivating subject and emotional depth made it popular. The appraiser agreed, confirming the painting's charm and importance. While examining the condition of the portrait, the appraiser said,
"A conservative auction estimate would be $6,000 to $8,000, and we think for insurance purposes it probably would be around $15,000.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
In Iranian culture, rugs like the one displayed serve as symbols of status and heritage. This particular rug was acquired by the guest at a yard sale. Known as a sumac rug, it dates back to the 1960s and originates from the Caucasus Mountains in Europe. Additionally, the rug features a silk pile and is woven on a cotton foundation. Surprisingly, this antique rug is in perfect condition. The value of this culturally symbolic rug is placed at...
The retail value for it would be about $2,000. So I think you made a great investment.
Wow.
We are presented with a pair of elegant paintings brought by our guest, who inherited them from her mother-in-law.
These came down from the family, and each woman brought it down.
So it's been handed down to daughter to daughter-in-law. Okay.
These works were created by Benjamin Greenleaf. Greenleaf was an American portraitist active in New England throughout his career.
He was an itinerant painter, going from town to town, staying there until he'd either worn his welcome out or he's painted enough commissions that he was done.
The painting closest to the appraiser features a woman and is a reverse painting on glass. In contrast, the second painting, which depicts a gentleman, was executed on a wooden panel. However, the frames of these paintings have been replaced, which slightly diminishes their value.
A diploma, those little black ones.
Okay.
And they were falling apart,
Okay.
so that's why we had them.
The auction value of these items by Greenleaf would be
$5,000 to $7,000.
Wow.
Just like any other exquisite painting, this still life oil painting is a captivating piece. The piece was painted by Charles Ethan Porter, who was a student of the National Academy of Design in New York City. He was one of the first African Americans to exhibit there and was the only African American artist at the turn of that century who painted in still life.
And of course, the prevailing attitude at the time was that quote-unquote Negroes weren't really capable.
This particular painting, an oil on canvas, is signed C.E. Porter in the top left corner and is dated between 1875 and 1879, after his time at the National Academy of Design, but before his Parisian studies.
He had the support of a lot of people in Hartford, including Samuel Clemens, a.k.a. Mark Twain, Twain's wife, Olivia Clemens.
As seen, the painting features a suspended apple, drawing the viewer's eye and showcasing Porter's talent for still life. Given its significance and the artist's historical importance, this painting would sell for...
So at retail, I think I would put a price of around $25,000 on it.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that is fantastic.
At first glance, this item looks like an ordinary poster, but it is an original painting of a little girl.
We do know that she came from a wealthy family out on Staten Island.
Yeah.
The family had a ferry. Her uncles and grandfathers had connections with George Washington.
This painting features a beautiful fence and a stunning rendition of her head and also the background, which includes lace, flowers, and strawberry designs. Although the artist is unknown and definitely a non-academic painter,
A non-academic painter, this means somebody that's not exactly trained as an official academic artist with great background and training.
this is the dream painting everyone looks for in Americana. On the back, it has original stretchers and canvas, and the varnish has never been removed. Although some sort of discoloration is seen, it doesn't affect its value. This beautiful painting with wonderful decorative elements has a price value of...
Possibly at auction, I would think the picture would bring between $30,000 and $40,000.
Really?
These paintings, executed in oil on canvas, were created by George Hitchcock. Hitchcock, an American painter, was primarily active in Europe, especially in the Netherlands.
I think the painting might have been just one painting, and I think my aunt could have had a lot of gumption and cut them in half, but I'm not sure. And that's why I brought them in to you.
The paintings were brought to the show by our guest, who inherited them from her grandfather.
He's already left the United States and he doesn't come back. And these would have been done in the Netherlands, as you can tell by the headdress on the two lovely ladies here.
Upon closer inspection, we can see the artist's signature, dated 1889. The paintings depict two girls seated in a chair surrounded by flowers. This pair of paintings, known as a diptych, was completed simultaneously. Interestingly, despite being over a century old, these paintings still retain their elegance and originality. At auction, this pair of evocative paintings is estimated to be worth...
At auction, conservatively, we would put the value at $50,000 to $70,000.
The guest, a collector of old photographs, brought a record with photos. He acquired this piece in North Carolina at an antique show, and it contains all the family names. We see a visibly colored sheet, which is a family record featuring different phases of life.
It is a family record
with the introduction of the Pilgrims.
It ranges from childhood days and courtship to school days and more. We also see scenes that evoke a typical American life. Fascinatingly, objects in this piece can be dated by the different photographs that appear. The item features unique photographic portraits depicted in 2 different techniques.
So these darker images are tintypes, and these brownish images are carte visites, albumin calling cards.
This beautiful 18th century family record with unique portraits and pictures of children as a collection would have an auction estimate of
somewhere between $1,200 and $1,400.
Oh, amazing. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
a thing of beauty. That's what this watch is. The complexity of the watch is beautiful and immediately appeals to many watch collectors. This is a perpetual calendar watch which has a lot of bells and whistles. The watch works in quite an interesting way. The watch is also a chronograph watch because it can be used as a stopwatch. Additionally, the watch is a repeater, which is quite fascinating.
You told me something when we were at the table. What'd you say?
For a watch to be so unique and functional in so many ways, this watch is a masterpiece. If it were to be sold at an auction, this watch would easily retail at the auction value of
somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000.
No.
Lalique vases are known to be among the most exquisite on the Roadshow. Here we have 3 Lalique vases. One is basic, another is better, and finally, we have the best. Each vase is different, and one is worth more than the others. Today we ask people on the Roadshow to pick which they believe is which. Some folks believe that the worth of these vases is determined by their age, but that's not always the case for Lalique vases. If you were to pick the basic, better, and best vases, which would you choose?
One of them is worth about £400, that's the basic one. The better one is worth £800, and then the best one is worth £2,000.
This exquisite Art Deco jade and sapphire ring dates back to the late 1920s. The guest's aunt received the ring as a gift from Sarah Hines, sister of H.J. Hines, for showing horses on their behalf. As an amateur, she couldn't accept money, so Sarah Hines selected this piece from her jade collection. The ring, crafted in platinum, features a vibrant jade center stone known for its toughness, and it's surrounded by sapphires, although one sapphire is currently missing. The ring's design is quintessentially Art Deco, fitting perfectly into the 1928 to 1930 time frame.
And it's hard to replace it because someone has to cut it exactly like the others.
However, due to the increased market demand for natural, untreated jade, this ring would fetch,
I think today you're probably looking at $15,000 to $20,000 to have this ring replaced. And I think if you had to sell it to buy a horse at auction.
Before us are medals that highlight an athlete's personal achievements. The guest inherited these Olympic medals from her great-uncle. These items belong to the guest's great-uncle, an athlete named Jack London, a British athlete known as the first black British athlete to win any Olympic medal in 1928, where he won 2. On the table are accolades and relay sticks that Jack earned and used throughout his sports career, displayed in a case. Jack won silver and bronze medals in the 100-meter and 4x100-meter relay at the Olympics, though he didn't win a gold medal.
And so he played, when you say played piano from the stars, after he retired from athletics?
From running, yeah.
These medals represent not only personal achievement, but also a significant moment in British athletics history, placing them at an auction value of...
I think overall as a collection here you've got between sort of £3,000 and £4,000 worth.
Very nice.
This showcased etching is more than just a piece of art. It offers us a glimpse into the rich artistry of its creator, Pierre-Auguste Renoir. Renoir, a renowned French artist, was a leading figure in the development of the Impressionist style. This piece was gifted to the guest's mother many years ago while they were in Long Island. We can identify the subject of the etching as Renoir's son. The detailing of the etching is truly exceptional, however, there are some minor signs of wear visible on the piece. Despite these imperfections, this etching would still hold a value of...
In this condition, it would probably sell for around $3,000. I would estimate the cleaning on this to be between $300 and $500. It's very close to being a $4,000 to $6,000 print.
Wow.
Today's guest brought in a spectacular painting acquired some years ago in Tulsa. The painting is a stunning work by Belgian painter and illustrator Joseph Koemens. Koemens is renowned for his Greco-Roman historical scenes, which blend fiction with classical genres. The painting is signed and dated in the lower right-hand corner. This oil painting on a wooden panel is exceptionally smooth and showcases exquisite details.
What you have is a spectacular example of a work by a Belgian artist named Joseph Koemens.
The details include a still life with fruit and wine, children on an animal skin rug, and a woman adorned with jewelry.
And here is this woman seated in this wonderful chair with a sphinx for an arm, and she's got on beautiful jewelry and holding a peacock feather fan.
The meticulous craftsmanship and rich narrative elements make this painting truly remarkable. At auction today, this spectacular piece of art would be worth...
I think at auction today it might be something like $30,000 to $50,000.
Oh, I sure appreciate it. That just really thrills me.